And joining me now is Republican Senator John McCain from Munich. Senator McCain, welcome back to Meet the Press, sir.
Thank you, Todd. Chuck.
No worries there. Let me start. That was a pretty...
I'm okay. It's a little cold.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Go ahead.
That was a pretty powerful speech you gave on Friday. It seems as if it was a powerful defense of the West. You didn't mention the president by name, but it was hard not to conclude that that's who you were referring to. Is that fair?
I was certainly referring to the threats that we are now facing with this stated goals of this administration, which would upset the last 70 years of a new world order, which was established after World War II. 70 years based on human rights, respect for the law, free trade, all of the things, aspects of this world order that took place after one of the most horrific, terrible wars in history. And I'm for maintaining it, and I'm afraid that it's under assault from a variety of forces, including, by the way, the Russians.
You say a variety of forces. You're being careful here. Do you think the president agrees with you about the world order or not?
I think many of his statements have been contradictory. Some of them have indicated that. I'm very pleased with the national security team that he has around him. We're here in Munich, by the way, and General Mattis and General Kelly, I think that, and the Vice President gave a very good speech today. But I worry about statements which upset our friends at a time when the strains on the European Union and Europeans are greater than they have been since any time since the end of the Cold War.
Tell me what Europeans are saying to you about what they're hearing from the new president compared to what they're hearing from the new Secretary of Defense and the new Vice President. Because it seems to be two different messages, or you could forgive them if they think it's two different messages.
Well, in some ways it is, Chuck, and they are puzzled and they are concerned. They realize that the linchpin of the Western alliance is the United States of America, and they worry, particularly when they see increased testings of this union that's being conducted by Vladimir Putin as we speak, whether it be increased attacks in Ukraine, whether it be more disinformation, whether it appears that he's trying to interfere with European elections the way he tried to in ours. And so this is a period of uncertainty about American commitment to that world order that I mentioned to you, that it made the 20th century well named the American century.
Now, the president has been waffling a little bit when it comes to his views on NATO. The vice president did not waffle at all. Secretary Mattis didn't at all either. What has been the reaction of NATO allies to both Secretary Mattis and what they've heard from the president?
They're very pleased. The German foreign minister, by the way, gave a speech which, while not confrontational, was certainly questioning about certain Trump administration policies. I had not seen that before. But there's a lot of uncertainty out there. The speeches given by Mattis and Pence, as you mentioned, and will be done by Kelly, are very reassuring to them. They have a lot of trust in these individuals. We've just got to have a consistent message to these people who are seriously threatened, particularly our friends in the Baltics.
Let me ask the question this way. How much confidence do you have in the current commander-in-chief?
Well, I worry about the president's understanding of some of these issues and his contradictory articulations. And I think the rollout of the, quote, immigration reform was an example of a need for an orderly decision-making process in the White House. And that, I think, is probably what's plaguing them more than anything else right now.
You know, you've taken extra care to say how much you like the president's national security team. Does that include what you've seen out of the National Security Council?
I worry about the membership. There has never been a political advisor as a permanent member of the National Security Council. And in Mr. Bannon's role as both political advisor and member of the National Security Council, I'm very worried about. Former Secretary of Defense Gates has said he's deeply concerned, so has Leon Panetta and many others who view the National Security Council as apolitical and should not be influenced by any political influences.
It's interesting you bring up Mr. Bannon. He calls himself an economic nationalist. When you hear that, or how about this, when Europeans hear that, what do they hear?
They hear, they feel uncertain about our trade relationships. They saw that we abandoned the TPP. They're facing the Brexit problem right now. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty in Munich and around our friends and allies today. Chuck, I think so much of this could be cured with a straightforward, clear, important speech on the part of the President of the United States. He's going to speak to the Congress here pretty soon, as you know,
right.
The State of the Union. I think that's going to be a very, very important speech.
Go ahead. Why is that so important to you? I thought you were going to finish that thought.
Because of the uncertainty around the world and in the United States as to exactly where the United States stands vis-a-vis many important issues. For example, NAFTA. In my state, it will be a disaster if we abandon NAFTA. There's too much trade between our two countries. That's just one example. Our relationship, all this business with Vladimir Putin is very disturbing to all of us. To equate Vladimir Putin and the United States of America, as he was asked, I guess it was Bill O'Reilly said, but Putin is a killer, and he basically said, so are we. That moral equivalency is a contradiction of everything the United States has ever stood for in the 20th and 21st century.
I'm curious, if obviously you have some confidence issues in this president, you'd like him to straighten some things out. Has that given you any pause about supporting members of his cabinet, even if you like them personally, because you think, you know what, as much as I like person X, I'm troubled by the commander-in-chief. Has that ever entered into your mind on any of these confirmations?
As I mentioned, I strongly support the national security team. I've known them for many, many years. I did vote against his nominee for budget director because he had consistently argued strenuously for further reductions in defense spending. The President has committed to increases in defense spending, which we are badly needed. Okay. Our defenses are at a low level. So no, I think we should give the President the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, we have our responsibilities of advise and consent.
Speaking of responsibilities, I know that Congress, there's a lot of members of Congress, it seems this week, that do want to get more involved into an investigation into what Russia did, what role did Russia play in the 2016 election. Right now, it's all in the Intel Committee. I know you want a special select committee of some sort. There seems to be some momentum for that. Why do you think Senator McConnell is still so hesitant?
I think that Senator McConnell has confidence in the Intelligence Committee. I was looking for a select committee on the attempts of Russia to affect the outcome of our election. On this broader issue, let's get some answers to some fundamental questions. There's so many questions out there that we, first of all, need to understand the parameters of what's happened here. And so I would hold off and wait and see what happens. One thing that you and I know from being around this town, about being around Washington, right, there's probably going to be some more shoes to drop.
That's true. But let me ask you this. Can Americans be confident that a Republican-controlled Congress can investigate this president thoroughly if necessary?
I hope so, and I have to believe so.
And then before I let you go...
More hope than belief.
More hope than belief? Before I let you go,
both.
I'm curious of your reaction to a tweet that the president sent Friday night. The fake news media, failing New York Times, NBC News, ABC, CBS, CNN, is not my enemy. It is the enemy of the American people. You believe the press is the enemy? Do you believe any group of Americans are the enemy of another group of Americans?
I was talking about the period, as you know, of the New World Order. A fundamental part of that New World Order was a free press. I hate the press. I hate you especially. But the fact is, we need you. We need a free press. We must have it. It's vital. If you want to preserve, I'm very serious now, if you want to preserve democracy as we know it, you have to have a free and many times adversarial press. And without it, I'm afraid that we would lose so much of our individual liberties over time. That's how dictators get started.
That's how dictators get started, with tweets like that?
No, they get started by suppressing a free press. In other words, in consolidation of power, when you look at history, the first thing that dictators do is shut down the press. And I'm not saying that President Trump is trying to be a dictator. I'm just saying we need to learn the lessons of history.
Senator McCain, I'm going to leave it there. You are a student of history, that's for sure. I always appreciate you sharing your views, no matter how much you hate me. That's all right.
Thanks, Chuck.
Senator McCain, thank you. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.